Okay, that was an interesting talk from Tim, huh? Exploring some new dimensions with the program. I personally do not use the trans-Neptunians. That doesn't mean they don't work, because his chart clearly shows that there's something to them, and that's something you can integrate. The one thing with this whole approach is you don't want to get too much stuff on your chart. That's the only problem. You can get overwhelmed with information, like using too many technical indicators or too many planetary lines or too many things. So it seems like less works more. But what he showed clearly demonstrates there's something to these trans-Neptunians. It's just not random that the support resistance level is held right on these lines. So it's just something else to open your mind to and other possibilities with the program. But what I'm not going to be getting into the next couple days, which I do at other times when I get into the Galactic Stock Trader, our other program, is the natal planetary lines, which Tim touched upon. And we have another program called the Galactic Stock Trader, which I'm going to open up real quickly. But this requires that you learn a little bit more about astrology. I'm trying to get everybody on the fast track, and this is designed more for traders that have little or no astro knowledge. We have a nice manual for the Galactic Stock Trader that is a tutorial that will show you how to apply some of these tools, but we have a nice database of commodity first trade charts. Yep, you just have to learn how to interpret these. Like here's the CME Treasury bills. Let me get rid of my email here. I don't want to look at that. Get lost.
So we need to get this Galactic Stock Trader, or can we just, I mean, is this an extra?
This is a separate program, but it has all the first trade charts. Like here's the inner wheel for Treasury bills, and here's the outer wheel for transits, for example. And then we have
Can you get wheat?
yeah, there's bare wheat here, bare wheat. January 2nd, 1587. So we have the whole list here. You just have to learn how to interpret these. And then we have stocks. And we use Michael Munkasi's stock database. And so it's the most accurate data available for all the stocks. And we have neat features. You don't have to be an astro whiz either to use this program. You can search and you can. Yeah, he comes up with quarterly updates. You can talk to Linda about that. But we have a feature where you can run transit search for planets to natal charts, first trade chart. You can look at Jupiter transits, which are positive. You can look at Saturn transits, which tend to depress the values, and the computer will do all the work for you. So it's real easy to use once you get to learn it. It prints out a menu of stocks that come up from the searches. And there's a lot of different ways of working with us. So I'm not going to be getting into this as much, but it is another program, and I did a seminar in the past on the Galactic Stock Trader. But one of the valuable features that you can integrate in Galactic Trader is the natal planetary lines. Okay, and Tim mentioned that. And one of my stock picks I'm going to get into more probably tomorrow, which I came up with from doing a search in the Galactic Stock Trader, was Texas Instruments. It's one of my stock picks, and it's been in a nice downtrend. And I'm just going to throw this up. It's a 15-minute chart, and I have the dynamic trio next indicator on, which is based on the next higher time frame with the multiple time frame approach. The own period is the fastest time frame. The next time period is the next highest time period, the next period, and then the highest time frame would be the daily, based on the daily price range. And this stair step defines the trend down, which Texas Instruments has been a nice downtrend. But once you know you have the data for the natal chart from the Galactic Stock Trader or the database that comes with the program, you can go to planetary lines, and I've already added it to save a little time, but it's called planetary position, date and time, and you add it onto your menu, and you edit it, and then you type in the first trade chart, the date, which was October 1st, 1953. You put in the time of the first trade, which is 9:30 in the time zone. And then you can click the planets you want. In this case, I chose Uranus because Texas Instruments is a tech stock, and it began trading with a Mercury square Uranus aspect. So you have to know a little bit about chart interpretation to use the planetary lines effectively, but it's not that complicated. Just a little bit of study is involved. But I chose Uranus in this case, a Uranus line, and I chose the 90-degree setting. In your book, I have a natal chart for Texas Instruments. It's on page 24. But
Print on New York Stock Exchange in -5 for the time thing.
yeah, or NASDAQ. This is NASDAQ. On page 24, there's a Mercury square Uranus. Mercury conjuncts Neptune and squares Uranus. So that's the reason I have the Uranus line at 90. I chose Uranus and the 90 setting for the square. And this is just what it looks like with the Uranus natal price lines on. Okay? So this is another tool that you can use for timing. And that was a pretty good resistance here. It broke a little bit above support, came back up. Here's a good short. Look how resistance held here below the dynamic trio. And that was right on. And then we broke through. We hit. Now this 360 line is what? That's the natal Uranus 360 line, not the transiting 360 line. We broke through, and we've come down close to this line. And by the way, remember I mentioned the NASDAQ hit the Uranus line? I'm going to show you that real quickly. See Uranus at the NASDAQ at Uranus line, 24 line? Well, look at the Uranus 24 line for Texas Instruments yesterday. This is a 15-minute chart. What was the low yesterday? $24.01. Is that not close enough for anybody? I could just hear somebody in the background say, "That's not close enough, it was a penny off. Your stuff doesn't work." So that's held. That's pretty strong support. Isn't it interesting how the 24 line, Uranus is crossing the 24, and Texas Instruments nails it, and that's also at the low for the NASDAQ at the 24 line. And that's a positive confirmation that it's going to bounce back up. But I'm going to get into that tomorrow, Texas Instruments, why it was a chosen stock selection, at least for the next couple of weeks, to go back up, especially if the market trends back up, and why it's a good potential candidate to buy right now.
Would they ever initiate a second IPO? I want to tell you why. I was working for a firm back in 1961, and I purchased some second IPO. So I'm doing the question of this
Yes, anything's possible.
$7 and $9, but it was about $13. And our firm, needless to say, received some of the IPO and went up to 17. But boy, I'm not foggy on the year. I didn't actually go to 61.
Yeah, I have Mercury -1, and there's a Mercury-Uranus semi-square, and that held the low. Actually, this is a trade I took, and it was a scratch trade, by the way. I took it last week. I'm going to get into this trade, the details, tomorrow. But we broke through Mercury, the Mercury line, and now we hit the Uranus line, which is another target. It was an even trade, break-even trade. And now I'm looking to get back in, but you don't have to be a hero and trade the exact bottom. I don't care if the thing goes up. I don't mind if it breaks above, and then I get more technical confirmation of a change in trend in the next higher time frame, and then I'll just buy in a pullback. So that's the safer way to do it, is to miss the first wave up, and Gann always talked about that. You miss the first wave up, let the market prove that it's a change in trend, and then just buy the pullback when the trend is changed and after the first reaction up. Excuse me? Ellie wave, yeah, that would be buying the wave 2 on a pullback to catch the wave 3. Or break up, or trade on when the wave 1 is exceeded. That's the biggest move, the wave 3, usually. So Rich was saying you want to look at Mercury -2. And we have that's good, Rich, because see, we have a confluence of the Mercury 45 -2 and Uranus 24 factor 0, right? And these are sorts of things to look for, which I'm going to get into more tomorrow, and more of the advanced stuff tomorrow. So that's another reason that's support is more likely to hold here. Okay, let's go on to the next chart example. I got 44 in the book, and hopefully I can get through all of them by the end of tomorrow. We're going to go till 6 o'clock, around 6 tonight, or today, and then tomorrow we're going to go till about 5. Now the next chart is a daily chart for the Dow, if you can pull that one up. And what's my chart here? I need to create a new one. If you want to create a new contract, you go to chart. You already know how to do this, I think, I hope.
This is Dow Cash, right?
Yeah, Dow Cash. And that's not an up-to-date chart. So get rid of that.
Is your Dow chart here?
That's end of day. It's on page 12. Here's the Dow Cash chart. Oh boy. I gotta see this is a good example. This is an old outdated chart, by the way, but this is an example of what your planetary lines, the red lines, Mars lines, should not look like. Because the program made a factor adjustment when the Dow went above 10,000, so it changed my lines, which it does automatically. But let me get out of there, get out of here. So if you want to create a new chart, you go to Chart. You can click on the stock you want, and then click on Dow Cash, create new chart. And here's a fresh chart. Now let's go to planets and aspects, and let's talk about the Sun-Jupiter trine last week again. So let's add that to the price bar so we know which bar it is. So we go to angle between planets, click on planets, and check the Sun and then Jupiter. Change the angle to 120. I make the bar thickness about 3 so it stands out. There's the Sun-Jupiter bar. Now let's add the Sun 360 line mirror. It could be the 120 line, either one. But the 360 line is what shows up at this price level. So you can go to sun line, type in 360, change the mirror to Y, and change the factor to -1. Then go to planetary lines and double click on Jupiter. Universal clock division 120, mirror, -1.
What determines -1
How do you know which factor to use?
Yeah.
Depends on the price level and what the market's reacting to. But -1 is working here. -2 would give you more lines, but this is more precise. But the point is you don't always know, and you need to put the different factors on, and you need to put the different mirrors on, and you just need to observe what happens. But I have this as one of my examples to show you how important the mirror line is. This is the Sun-Jupiter aspect the day before, right? Stocks came down. They rallied back up to the Sun-Jupiter price line. So that's now resistance. So one of the axioms with technical analysis and this sort of analysis is if planetary support fails, it turns into planetary resistance. So since we broke through the Sun-Jupiter line at the time of the aspect, if we rallied back up to that, that would be a sell point. That would be new resistance. And that nailed the low, the high right there. So that's a warning sign. If you think the market, if you hit a bottom and the high comes back up to this and stops, that's a warning sign. It's not a bottom, or it's not going to continue. I mean, that actually, that was the bottom there, but that's going to stop price from going further up. And then we came back down on Friday, and that bottom held, but it stopped price on that day, and we came back down off of that. But this is a daily chart. So that's why it's so important to use the mirror setting. 120. Yeah, Jupiter 120, mirror -1.
So what happens when it's floating then below the Jupiter mirror setting? Does that have any significance, or just that?
Yeah, it usually means price is going to go further down to the next planetary line. And we determined that Mercury was strong. I just clicked on the Mercury line. I'm just going to throw it on and see what happens. What if we change, if you want to add Mercury at 45 -1, because we clicked on aspect research and we determined that Mercury was semi-square Uranus, so that's for the semi-square. And that's pretty close. We also had a Mercury trine Pluto aspect. If you go to aspect research, this is kind of a longer term trine that began the previous week. Here are all the aspects. Mercury has been trining Pluto within a degree, so it's been pretty close. But if we go to May, here's the Mercury trine Pluto today. It's occurring. So you could adjust your Mercury line to the 120 setting. Get it right here. This is the 120 line. See, that works better. See what I just did? I'm trying to determine the bottom. Rich asked what happens when price breaks below a planetary line. Well, it continues to the next planetary line. In this case, it went down to the next Mercury 120 line, right? and then it continued down. Once it broke below that, it rallied. From there, it rallied back up to the Sun-Jupiter line, and then it continued back down to the next Mercury 120 line. And that's based on the Mercury-Pluto trine, so that third harmonic. And then we came back up from there. And that's yesterday's price data. I don't have today's yet.
What bar was the Mercury Pluto trying on right there, the last bar right there?
This one?
Is that the day it actually happened?
It happens today.
It happens today.
Yeah, so the low yesterday was right on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a planetary low once again. So if you click on planetary aspects, you can go to angle between planets. Is everybody doing this that have laptops? Am I going too fast? Okay, I'll slow down. I can do this in my sleep almost. I just, I don't think about it.
One thing that I think would be helpful is if you remind people that they can just double click on everything when it's down below and they can just double click on everything when it's above. You don't have to actually hit the edit button.
Yeah, you do some shortcuts this time.
Okay, I'll slow down a little bit. So angle between planets, then you can click on edit, right? Here, I'll get out of it again. Okay, it looks like we have a precise planetary low here, the Mercury 120 line, yesterday. That's coming in a day ahead of the Mercury trine Pluto aspect, right? This is -2. So we're going to click on planets, and then we go down to aspects. I already have the Sun Jupiter added to the menu. So now we're going to double click on angle between planets. It defaults to geocentric 30 in Mercury and Mars. That's just the default. So we have to then click on edit, go to planets, check Mercury, check Pluto, change the angle to 120. You can go to style and make the bar thicker. We already have blue colored for Jupiter, so let's pick a different one under symbol. Let's pick a circle. You can click on color and change the color to say green if you like green, the color of money. And now you have the Mercury-Pluto bar colored. And it's showing up tomorrow, and I don't have the data for, today, I don't have the data for today yet. And then this is when the first Mercury-Pluto trine occurred on the 23rd. But it's been within a 1-degree orb of Pluto for the last week, and it's a strong harmonic. And we can also add the Pluto line if you go to planetary lines, and then click on Pluto and edit 120. We're using factor -2 and exit. You'll see how they come together. And for the Dow, how many points apart are these lines at factor -2 for 120? It's trading over 10,000. At 120? 120. Yeah, they're at 120 point increments.
You put more bars into that Mercury trine line off the eye back in February.
Okay. That's very good observation. And why was that strong back here in February? What Mercury line is this? That's the 360 line. That's why I go back to how important the 360 lines are.
If you go back even farther to 1110, you got 5.
Okay. Right here? That's the 360. That's the 360 line. So we had a planetary low on Monday based on the Mercury trine Pluto aspect. We had a planetary low on Friday for the NASDAQ at the Uranus 24 line. We had a planetary low for the E-mini at the Uranus 360 mirror line, if you remember all these. Right? So I don't know if you want to be short anymore. You may be a bear, but you may want to go hibernate for a while and come back. But the Sun-Jupiter line up here was resistance. The mirror line was resistance based on that Sun-Jupiter trine.
You were going to cover May 17th.
Yeah, yes. Okay, now on the next page I'm going to be showing you how to set up some longer term charts for the outer planets. But before I do that, let's go back to the gold chart. And someone asked me a lot on the break, and this is a frequently asked question: when you get a reversal, how far do you know it's going to go? And that's a good question. And the answer is you don't always know. Yeah. Excuse me? The shockwave, yeah, I don't use that. That might be helpful. But one of the, yeah, you can use other tools or GAN techniques, but one of the projections where price is likely to go is based on the harmonic vibration of the planetary lower high. Okay, so if it's the trine of 120, I already mentioned that the 120 or the 12 vibration should be strong. And since there was a planetary low based on that, you'd be looking at multiples of 12 as a projection of where it's going to go off of 380. And that's right on the planetary lines here. And Jupiter is stationary direct today. It's not going to be moving very fast over the next month or two. And in the month of May, it's not going to be moving hardly at all. So that Mercury 360 line is going to be strong resistance. And if we went up that far, I would be happy. And you notice that's the bottom of this wave, which was support. And then if we extended higher, we're looking at the Sun 360. So these lines here are just 120 lines. These two lines are 120 lines. This is a Jupiter 360 line, and this is a Sun 360 line. This is back to June gold, because I'm going to talk about the May 17th date. So these are these 360 first harmonic lines are going to be strong resistance points, and these are targets. So if you were long and we broke above this Jupiter line, this would be a profit point. You could play it safe and take profits, some profits here at this target, then take some here at this target, and then some more up here. But I'm doubtful if we're going to penetrate this. You know, the momentum is going to have to be pretty strong. So then we would look at a rally if it continued that far. But I don't want to project how far it's going to go. But with aspects research, you can go to options, and if you want, you can print out the whole, all the aspects for the whole month for the daily reversals during the week, potential reversals. But I uncheck the moon unless you're looking at intraday stuff, because you're going to have too much information on there. So I just uncheck the moon, I click OK, and then I just check the click on the month, and it will tell you all the days in April for potential reversals. And that begins on page 16 and 17. I have all the dates for April. This is only Galactic Trader. I'm out of the stock trader.
So Ted, if you put all those lines on plus the mirror lines for the whole month,
You can't do it that way. You have to change them each day or every few days.
the 44 cents.
are you going to give us some idea, if we just traded one thing, kind of like how we did, what would we do the night before, like one?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing that hopefully right today. I'm going to walk you through that. But if you get a reversal on the like we did in gold, we then go to the month of May and click on the dates. And we had on Saturday Jupiter sextile Saturn. We had this whole cluster of aspects. Mars semi-square North Node, Mercury semi-square Uranus, Venus opposed Pluto. There's Sun aspects to the Moon which needs to be adjusted. They really shouldn't be in there. Those should be in there only when you click on the lunar aspects. So just ignore those at this point. But we have this huge cluster over the weekend, which is more confirmation that we should get a reversal back up. That confirms we're going up higher for gold in this case, because we had a correct planetary low. And that's been the case today on Tuesday. And then you look at other aspects or ingresses for other potential turning points. And these are warning signs when we could get short-term reversals. Okay? So we have a Sun square Neptune on the 5th. We have Mars entering Cancer on Friday, the 7th. But the big one here is on the 17th. We have a Venus and Neptune retrograde. Right? And why is this more significant? Because it happens less frequently. But also we have a Mars trine Uranus on the 17th. We also have the new moon the next day on the 18th. So on your sheet there, when you're looking at this, you want to circle the dates that have clusters of aspects occurring on a specific day. Like we had a huge cluster on the 1st of May, right? We had 4 aspects, I believe, that happened. Well, on the 17th, we have Mars trine Neptune, Venus and Neptune retrograde. We have Mars crossing the 24 line the day before. So this is a big cluster period to look for a turning point.
Question. You're talking about obviously clusters are important, but are there significant clusters of certain planets? So not just a whole bunch of. Has somebody like done combinations of clusters of certain planets that are more significant than just say cluster?
Yes. Well, to answer your question, the inner planets, clusters of the inner planets would bring more short-term changes in trend usually. When you have clusters of outer planets, that could be more significant longer-term changes in trend. And you get this information from aspect research. So on the 17th with Venus and Neptune retrograde, that's a rare occurrence. So if we go back to your second sheet I handed out on planetary speed, I'm going to pull that up a second. Venus is retrograde about 8% of the time. It has an apparent retrograde about every 18 months for 42 days. So that is a rare occurrence. It's the least often of all planets that are retrograde. The most frequent retrograde is Mercury. Now, if we scroll down to Neptune, Neptune's retrograde 44%, where's Neptune? 44% of the time. Approximately every 7 months it goes retrograde. That lasts about 5 months. But for both of them to happen on the same day. So that's a warning sign that this isn't just a short-term reversal or a minor change in trend, that it's something maybe longer term. And how long do you think it will last? Well, maybe until Venus goes direct again. If the retrograde of Venus, a planet goes retrograde, it causes a reversal, then you want to look again when it goes direct, and vice versa. Excuse me? That's a very big, significant signature. And I did a seminar last year with Ray Merriman, integrating some of his tools from his FAR program, which he did some statistical quantitative analysis. And he's got an add-on to the program. It's called FAR. And it's an add-on if you want to add that to your program. And you can click on stock reversals. I know I have a chart for gold up here, but if you click on stock reversals, he has different levels. The level 1s are the highest probability reversal periods. And it just plots it right on your screen. And then it'll project it into the future. And look what's coming up the 17th. May 17th.
That integrates into Galactic Trader?
It integrates into Galactic Trader. So it's Venus and Neptune retrograde. So this isn't like holy grail stuff, but the probabilities are very strong for a big trade opportunity, reversal period here. Well, Tim mentioned how important the 0-degree Aries point is. You can look at planetary positions in relationship to that 0-degree Aries point. So the program will also tell you where the planets are relative to that 0 degrees Aries point. You could use that, but I'm looking more at planetary energy. But it's another tool you can use. Yeah, when there's an actual aspect between planets that's stronger. But you can pay attention to that, and those are sensitive degrees when planets form angles to the 0 Aries point. And you could put in planetary lines or settings based on that too. So that's what it means.
Now, is this the most likely way of determining a change in trend date coming up in the next 50 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, this is a big one. And then you could integrate his research and quantitative analysis into the program, and then the planetary highs and lows, and then you have that another added edge to your trading system.
So what's happening on the 17th? How do we going down, up, or
Well, the Astro can't tell you that at this point, but since we had a planetary low with the indexes, that points to a rally now, and if the rally continues and there's not a change in trend, that would point to a reversal back down.
Okay, so it's possible.
Yes, unless something happens between now and the 17th and stocks tank again. It could easily be a bottom. So we have to stay open-minded about it, but at this point it looks like it's pointing to a top.
For the option traders, I mean, it would be great to maybe buy a straddle. More likely to probably get a big move one way or another. If you buy a straddle, and then whichever way it starts to go, you take the other side off.
Yeah, around the 17th, right? Or before the volatility increases. Right, you buy a straddle, who cares direction? Something's going to happen one way, that's going to be significant. Right, well,
I do that.
sure. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you do a straddle and you go out over a month, I mean, you're just there for a day or two. If it doesn't break, you stop and you go off some time back. So if it doesn't, you don't get a big enough move. So it wouldn't be a long term. If you're in the straddle, if you don't get the big move and you come out of it, you make a risk anymore. Should be good.
Yeah, that's the most important question is what is your risk? Okay, I'd like to go back to page 13 now, and let's use the Dow cache as an example. That chart's so nice, I don't want to mess with it, so I'm going to create a new chart. Okay, does everybody have enough data for the Dow cache to pull up a weekly chart for like the last couple of years? Yes? Yeah, I'm going to look at the weekly time frame to start with. Now, what I recommend doing, if you want to know the bigger turning points for the year, I mentioned looking at the outer planets. Say you're a longer-term trader and you don't care what goes on in the daily chart, it's too much noise for you, and you're taking a position, you want to stay in and ride the bigger trends, then you want to look at the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So you can click on Aspect Research and then go to Options and uncheck the inner planets, the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and just leave checked Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and the North Node. Okay? And then you click on the month, and it will tell you what's going on each month with the outer planets, if they're going direct or retrograde, if there's an eclipse, if they're crossing the 24 line. And then there's an option under File where you can print the whole year. And that's what I did for on pages 13 through 15. I got the whole year of planetary events with the outer planets. And this works very well on weekly and monthly charts. And it's good. It's even good to have them on your daily charts, on a separate chart for your daily settings. You unclick the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. That's, I think, if you want to use a fixed angle. I don't mess with that. Or I don't use that one.
You're welcome.
So uncheck the inner planets, and this gives you information each month. Here's February, here's March, here's April, and you just click on month and it will tell you all the important things going on. Here's Uranus crossing the 24, right? On the 26th of April. That's why we're adding Uranus 24 line on.
And it'll, obviously, when we have the Mars aspect to it on the 16th of May, it's still sitting there at the 24th.
Correct.
It'll be there for quite a while.
Yes.
It's show up every day.
Now, if you don't know how to read an ephemeris, it's a very valuable tool. You could put this up on the screen. Can't see it. But you might want to purchase an American ephemeris and learn how to use it, because this tells you valuable information too. You can just look it up very quickly, and it tells you how long planets will be at certain degrees and other important celestial phenomena. But if you don't have an ephemeris in the program, you can determine that. Question?
You know, when you're talking about crossing the 24, is that from being on clock?
Yes, that's...
So that's For that first stuff, that is just general aspects.
It's based on Gann's wheel of 24.
That's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. You can go to planetary price lines, and if we're looking at the Dow, for example, no, not planetary price lines. I want to go to the view ephemeris. We have a graphic ephemeris. I don't know if anybody's worked with this or not, but if you don't have an ephemeris, you can work with this, and it tells you the planetary positions. And if you're looking at long-term cycles, we'll just uncheck the inner planets. Let's just look at Uranus a second here. Here's Uranus. And you click on the Earth for geocentric. You click on the Sun for heliocentric. Since the outer planets are outer planets, they're positioned geocentrically, heliocentrically, you're not going to change much. And then you put your mouse right on the planetary line, and it will tell you the degree of Uranus right here. You see that on the bottom? 6 Pisces. You see 336? It's a multiple of 24. 6 degrees Pisces. That means it's crossing the 24.
Well, at 336 now, that's also a correct price point, isn't it? So you looking for multiple price on that day with that aspect, perhaps?
Multiples, yeah, that harmonic, the 15th harmonic, so 336 plus 24, or 240.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, is that what you're looking at?
Well, so for example, we're trading the Dow on that day.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at that particular, it is vibrating with Uranus.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be like 10, might be looking for 10, 336 or something like that in terms of price? Is there any equation, is there any match between the price? Because a little bit thing along the line of the price change.
Yes, that's where your planetary lines are.
Yeah, that's what the planetary lines would adjust that. So it would have to do with factoring. So if it's 336, right, that'd be 3,360. And if it's a 24, it'd be 3,360, right, plus 2,400. No, this is just, I'm looking at the speed, the position of the planet. If you don't have an ephemeris, I'm looking at how long the planet's going to stay at a degree. If you don't have an ephemeris, we have a graphic ephemeris. And you can put your mouse on the planetary line, and it tells you it's at 6 Pisces, and it's going to stay here, you know, for a while.
Other than, you don't have an idea how long Uranus is going to stay.
Yeah.
Show it one day, policy, in fact, as long as it stays where it is.
Yeah, you see, Uranus, let me go back to aspect research. Well, on your sheet, on page 14, you'll see that Uranus goes retrograde on June 10th. Uranus goes retrograde. And Uranus is going to go retrograde once, stay on the 24 line as it goes retrograde, June 10th. And then it'll start to move down a little bit off of that. In July, you'll see Uranus crossing the 24 again on the 26th of July.
What do you anticipate? Of course, with Uranus, it's kind of a crashing ball.
Oh, wow.
So what would I anticipate? Well,
We've got Venus already retrograde.
Well, I'm not anticipating anything until prices hit the certain levels, and that tells me where a change in trend is going to happen. But what it says is Uranus is going to be at that sensitive degree through July. So we're looking at April, May, June, July. We're looking at 4 months at least where Uranus is going to be on the 24 line. And in terms of using the universal clock, that's going to be a trigger when planets hit that 24 line, because Uranus is sitting on there for 4 months.
Certainly wouldn't want to ignore any hard aspects of Uranus in that time later, right?
It's going to make Uranus very sensitive.
Okay,
It's going to be a sensitive, sensitive person. You don't want to mess with Uranus, or you get hit with a lightning bolt or something.
what does Uranus represent sort of in terms of sectors and meaning and so on and so forth?
Well, astrologically, Uranus corresponds to technology, among other things, and the tech sector especially. So that may be more sensitive to what happens during this period. So basically, on your longer term charts and your daily charts, you want to have Uranus at the 24 setting for like the next 4 months. That's basically what I'm trying to get at here. So we go to planetary lines. Mm-hmm. Well, it's usually 6 to 7 degrees as it crosses the 24 line. This is the 15 setting. Let me pull up the universal clock again. That's at 6. It starts from 5 to 6 degrees, Pisces, but it's the strongest right now at 6. It's like a 1 degree. But as it retrogrades back off of that line, it's still sensitive, but it's not as sensitive. So as it moves off of 6 and it gets out of like the 5.5, I think it's less intense. Usually about 1 degree of longitude, I give it. Usually it's like 6, 7 in that range on the universal clock.
So what line would you put on your 24 line?
Geo in this case, so we click on Uranus on your Dow chart and you type in the 24 setting. And you can use the mirror and with and without the mirror. That's the mirror, and this is without the mirror. Oops. Well, that's factor 0. Let's see what it looks like factor -1, if that makes more sense. Here's a weekly chart. Do you like that one better? Now, here's another question to ask yourself. We talked about how the first harmonic's the strongest, right? Oops. Which factor is going to be stronger, factor 0 or factor -1? What happens the least frequently? 0. So you're going to want to pay attention to that factor if it's hit. And on the downside, this would say that the 9600 level around here is going to be a strong support level for the Dow on the downside. You see that? Right in here. So on a weekly, monthly chart, and your longer term charts, I like to use factor 0, Eric, because that puts the lines how far apart? In this case, they're 2,400 points apart, 2,400 points apart. Now if we go back to March, we had Jupiter-Neptune at 150 degree aspect. So on your longer term charts, you'd be adding Jupiter and the Neptune line, so you can add Jupiter at 30, and then add Neptune at 30. Okay, how do I know, going back to March, you have Jupiter, Neptune? That's on aspect research. That's on page 13. Because Jupiter is quincunx Neptune, 150 degrees on March 3rd. So, yeah, I'm showing you the setup for the planetary lines and settings on the longer term charts based on the outer planet aspects. And when there's a 150 degree aspect, you want to use the 30 setting. Because I'm going back and showing you how to set up your planetary lines. I want to go back now for the beginning of the year. I'm going back to March because we just did April's with Uranus crossing the 24th. And now then I want to go forward to May and show you how to do that. And this is what it looks like. At factor 0. And that held resistance. See how Neptune here held resistance? And when Jupiter crossed the Neptune line, that's when the aspect occurred, the Jupiter quincunx Neptune aspect. And Jupiter going down, what's happening when Jupiter is going down? It's retrograde. See, this is when Jupiter is going direct all the way up here. It goes retrograde beginning of January, then comes back down, right? And you notice how price followed Jupiter's retrograde back down? And then the Neptune 30 line serves as resistance. And now Jupiter's getting ready to go back up. So hopefully this takes the market back up again, because Jupiter's sextile Saturn, which is still bullish. But we got the Venus-Neptune retrograde. Now these harmonics are very strong, and the weekly time frame is a stronger time frame than the daily, the weekly and the monthly charts. And at this factor, these are strong planetary lines, stronger than at a different factor. Now we also had Jupiter trine the North Node on the 21st of March. And if we have Jupiter at 30, do we need to add the trine at 120? At this factor, no, because 120 is a multiple of 30. But the North Node, you can add that also. Let's just add it so you can see it. And nothing's showing up at 120 at this factor, of course. So if we change it to 30, you're going to see it come together with Jupiter, because Jupiter and the North Node formed an aspect. But this is what it looks like. Kind of looks kind of funny going down. And then if you want to put on the 120 for Jupiter, you can edit that and edit the 30 line for North Node. And it disappears. Now let's adjust the factor and see what we get. You can go to -1. And this could be equally valid. And look what happened here. Something significant just happened here on the weekly chart. In March. on the weekly chart at the Jupiter 120 line, we changed the factor to -1. We had Jupiter at 30 factor 0, we changed it to 120 minus 1.